What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're coming at you with another new deck from Fates Collide, featuring the new Mew card that's been getting a little bit of hype. So, if you guys aren't familiar with Mew, he has the neat ability Memories of Dawn. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any. Wait, this Pokemon can use the attacks of any of your basic Pokemon in play, but you still need the energy to actually use the attacks. So, a lot of people have been trying different stuff with Mew so far. I've seen some cool Mew like Jolteon, Glaceon decks, Mew Durant. Mew's been played in Night March. We even did a video featuring that. So there's all sorts of ways that we can combine different cards with Mew. And today we're taking a look at Mew paired with Sceptile EX. It's kind of a different way to play Sceptile, but this way you only give up a one prize attacker, which is pretty nice. So before we move on to Sceptile, let's just check out the rest of Mew's stats. So 50 hit points, which is not good at all, to be honest. He's pretty much going to get knocked out in one hit, but he has the attack Encounter. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterward. That can be kind of handy if you have like a dead hand and you need to get some Pokemon on the board. And it also has free retreat, which is really, really nice. Because now if a Mew gets knocked out, or any Pokemon gets knocked out, we can promote Mew and choose to free retreat into something else if we decide to. So the reason we're playing Mew is because we can abuse Dimension Valley, and we'll get to that as well. So for the other main card of the deck, it's going to be, like I said, Sceptile EX. It's been a card that's seen some play here and there ever since it's come out. But Sceptile, 170 hit points, has the attack Sleep Poison. Flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep and poisoned. So kind of like Hypnotoxic Laser from back in the day. And more importantly, we have the attack Unseen Claw. So if your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, this attack is 60 plus 70 more. So you're doing 130, and if they're poisoned, that bumps it up to essentially 140 in between turns, which does knock out a decent amount of stuff. So before, you had to play things like Max Elixir in order to abuse this Unseen Claw. If you want to power up a Sceptile in one turn, or other stuff like EXP share. So now that we're playing Mew and we can abuse Dimension Valley, we can use Unseen Claw for just a single grass energy. And one grass energy to do 130 or 140 is really, really good, especially when your attacker is only giving up one prize. So that's Sceptile. We kind of need him to do most of our damage. That's why we're playing 2 copies of him. And then we're also playing a 2/2 Ariados line. So Ariados is kind of the, oops, did not mean to minus an Ariados. There we go. So he's kind of the other piece of the puzzle that makes us do more damage. He has the attack, or I'm sorry, the ability Poisonous Nest. Once during your turn before you attack, you may use this ability, and it poisons both non-grass Pokemon. So as long as your opponent's Pokemon isn't grass, you can poison them. And even though we're going to poison our own Mews, Mew gets knocked out usually in one hit regardless. So that's why we're really not too worried about the damage that we're going to take from Poisonous Nest. It also has the attack Impound for just a grass and colorless is 30, and the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So that might be useful in some situations, but generally speaking, we don't really want to attack with Ariados if possible. Okay, 2 Shaman EX is pretty standard, just for the ability setup. Whenever you play them onto your bench, you may draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. And kind of the curious inclusion in this list is going to be a 1 of for Druddigon. So, like we were just talking about with Ariados, it can't poison grass Pokemon. So, if we're playing against another Sceptile deck, or we're playing against Vespiquen deck, or they use Hex Maniac on us, we still need another way to do damage. Just because otherwise, if you play against these type of decks, you're probably going to get destroyed, and in a lot of cases. So we're playing 1 of Druddigon just to give us an alternate attack to use. So just for a single colorless, or I'm sorry, a single grass energy, Mew can use Revenge to do 90 damage if something was knocked out. So this will one-shot Vespiquens and also 2-shot other Sceptile EXs if we run into another person that's playing Sceptile. But Sceptile is really not a popular card you know, right now as far as the competitive scene goes. So typically it's not something you'll have to worry about, but who knows, maybe this type of deck will catch on and more people will play Sceptile. But so that's why we're playing Drudagon, just to give us the extra insurance in case we do play against another grass deck. Okay, so that is it for the Pokemon line. And next up for the trainer cards, I'm going to start with the supporters. So playing 4 Professor Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7, best draw supporter in the game. So we're just going to max that out. And we're not playing like stage 2s or anything weird or like any breaks. So in most cases, a lot of the cards that we're going to be drawing into, we can just play down immediately. And we typically don't have to worry about, discarding extra resources that we might have wanted to save onto. Because like I said, we're not playing rare candy or stage 2s or, any of these types of cards that we typically need to hang on to for certain situations. So we're just maxing that out. And since N is back in the format, we are playing 2 of these guys. So each player shuffles in and draws equal to the number of prize cards they have left. So if you go down prizes early on, you can use N to punish your opponent and maybe disrupt their hand a little bit. And it's also kind of useful too with Drudagon in the deck because you can potentially, if they take a couple knockouts, you can end them down to a low hand size and then also use Revenge and maybe take out like a Pokemon or something. So it's got some synergy there for some extra late game disruption or comebacks. Okay, playing 2 Lysander, pretty straightforward. Switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with one of his or her active. Pretty much standard in most decks. I definitely like playing 2 in this list though, because in case we do play against something like Vespiquen, we are going to need to Lysander things like Shamans and other Pokemon to take one-hit knockouts more easily. So playing 2 Lysander just helps enable us to do that. Okay, we're playing 1 Zerosic. Again, this is kind of just another card we're going to use as insurance against things like Vespiquen, and also Trevenant Break I think is an important one too, because if you're attacking with your Muse, a Burst Balloon does knock out your Muse. So there might be a situation where you can Zerosic off a Burst Balloon and keep attacking with your Mew for another turn or so. It's just a good card to have. You can get rid of things like Fighting Fury Belt. That's another thing too. If they see, you're playing Sceptile and this, using this attack that does like 130, 140 damage, they might be tempted to Fighting Fury Belt a Shaman to maybe take it out of one-hit knockout range. So there's just a wide variety of things you can do with 06. So that's why we're playing that one. And we're also playing 1 AZ. So this is kind of handy. If a Sceptile or something gets damaged, we can pick it up and then bench it right back down and basically heal it off. And also it's really useful with Drudagon because if we are forced to start with Drudagon, he does have a 2 retreat cost and we might not want to manually attach those energies to retreat. So we're just playing it for that type of situation. And also we're playing Shaman, so you can always use AZ as a way to deny prizes in the late game, to prevent your opponent from taking their last couple prizes off Shamans. Then 4 versus Seeker, just to reuse our supporters. And for our stadiums, we're playing 4 Dimension Valley. Like I said, now that Mew is been released, we can use Sceptile's Unseen Claw attack for just a single grass energy. And that's kind of the main attack we're hoping to use throughout the course of this game. So that's why we're playing 4 of these, just to max out our odds of always drawing into it. So, and there's other things you can do too, like you can use Sky Return. Like I said, you can use Revenge with Drudagon. You can even use Spinnerack's attack if you really want to. So, like I said, we're very reliant on this card. That's why we're going to max out at 4 copies. And for the trainer cards, the item cards, we're playing 3 Fighting Fury Belt. So like we've been saying, Mew gets knocked out very, very easily. And, Fighting Fury Belt might not always save it from being one-shotted, but there are some instances where it will help. So it increases your basic Pokemon's HP by 40 and does 10 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So you can put this on Mew to do more damage. You can put it on your Sceptile so that they don't try to Lysander and take out your source of attack. You can put it on Shamans, just all sorts of different things you can do with it. But we're mainly going to be using it for Mew just to, increase damage output and also for Sceptile when we're attacking with him as well. Okay, so we're also playing 4 Ultra Ball and 2 Level Ball. I like this split because, 4 Ultra Ball just for maximum consistency. Discard 2 cards and get any Pokemon out of your deck. We can get Shamans, Sceptiles, anything we want. So that's why we're maxing that out. And also, we do have a lot of low HP Pokemon, so that's why we're playing 2 Level Ball as well. We pretty much always want to have 2 Mew on the board at a time. Just in case one gets knocked out, we can promote a free retreater. And, yeah, that's about it. And also Spinnerack and Ariados both have under 90 hit points. So we're also playing 1 Super Rod and 1 Revitalizer as kind of some recovery cards. So Revitalizer is kind of handy. It's a newer card that came out in Generations. Put 2 grass Pokemon from your discard into your hand. We are playing Battle Compressor in this list too, so both these cards have some synergy together, and in the late game, it's kind of handy just to be able to put back, like, let's say a Sceptile gets knocked out, or an Ariados gets knocked out. Instead of taking a turn to maybe have to Sycamore some extra stuff away, and maybe not even draw into it with, whenever you Super Rod something, you can just use Revitalizer and just get it right back. So, let's say someone takes out your Sceptile, you can just use Revitalizer, put it back in your hand, bench it, and keep on attacking with your Mew. So I've been liking this card so far. And then we're just playing 1 Super Rod just as some general recovery. So you shuffle in any 3 combination of Pokemon and basic energy back into your deck. So we're using this to mainly get back our Mews. And like we said, we're playing 1 Battle Compressor. So just to throw away some cards that we don't want, maybe put some supporters in the discard. And I felt that since we were playing Revitalizer, it wouldn't hurt to play at least 1 Battle Compressor. It'll help increase our odds of opening with the supporter that we want, since we can, compress our way potentially some supporters into our discard and then Versus Seeker for them. And you can also just, like we said, discard cards you might not need in the late game as much. Playing 1 Escape Rope. This is another, I think, very important card. Just in case, like we said, if you do play against a grass deck, you can help use a card like this to get, kind of help force your opponent to promote a non-grass type Pokemon. That way you can knock it out with your Mews and Sceptiles. So it's also really important against Jolteon EX, because Jolteon has the attack that prevents basic Pokemon from doing damage to it. So we do need a way to get around that. If we use Escape Rope, it'll force them to promote a different Pokemon, or we could also play Escape Rope, then Lysander up the Jolteon again to, do damage to it. Okay, so we're playing 4 Trainer's Mail, just another general consistency booster. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and pick a trainer card that you find there and put it in your hand. And so for the last of our item cards, we're playing 4 Puzzles of Time. So this is really handy, mainly for things like Escape Rope, also Fighting Fury Belts, Mews. We have a lot of one-ofs in this deck, Xerosic, AZ, Druddigon. And luckily, we had a lot of extra space to work with whenever I was building this list. So, Puzzle of Time is just such a good card in any deck that can fit it in, really. So we can reuse things like Revitalizer, Battle Compressor, just so many different things. So if your deck ever has a lot of open space after you've finished building it, this is never a bad card to include. So yeah, I've been liking this card in the list as well. And then just to round off everything, we're playing 9 Grass Energy. Most of the time, we are just going to be attacking for a single grass, but there might be times where it's more beneficial to attack with Sceptile, maybe to hit something for weakness like Zygarde, since that's going to be a popular deck, it looks like. So we might have to attach more than 1 Grass Energy to Sceptiles in order to attack with them. So yeah, you could debatably even cut 1 Grass Energy, I feel like. In my testing, I haven't had too many issues getting out grass, so if there's another card you feel like you really wanted to include, maybe like a Floatstone, that was a card I've kind of felt like this list might be able to use, just in case, all of your Mews are knocked out and you have to promote something that doesn't have free retreat. Floatstone could come in handy, but Jirachi I think is another worthwhile inclusion, the Stardust one. But anyways, so I've been liking the 9 count so far, but I might play with it a little bit more and see how 8 does too. But yeah, guys, so that is the deck. That's the general gist of how this thing is going to work. We're going to poison people and take, knockouts with Mew, basically. So I'm just going to head over to the battle video and show you how this thing looks in action, okay? Alright guys, so it looks like we found ourselves a game here, and we're just doing the coin toss, and we do win, which is really nice, just because we don't run forest or anything like that, so typically speaking, we won't be able to get attack off on the first turn, so it's good to be able to give us that extra, turn to get a Spinnerack on the board and start evolving on turn 2. And here, I gotta say, I'm pretty bummed out. We have to start out with Druddigon, which is like easily the worst Pokemon to start with. And on top of that, we're playing against another grass deck, so not the most fun because our Ariados probably won't be able to poison them. So here we're just gonna play down the Fury Belt and an Energy just to thin out some cards from our deck. And oh god, this opening is just not that good, I won't lie. Luckily, our opponent does have a Shaman start, so they might not be in much better of a spot than us. And here we see actually an opposing Ariados hit the board. So that kind of tells me we're probably playing at some sort of Sceptile Ariados deck. Um, they're playing Forest, which leads me to believe it's not a version that plays Mew. So maybe it's actually Mega Sceptile. But I would definitely place money on it being some sort of Sceptile variant. Okay, luckily they haven't had an attacker hit the board yet, so pretty thankful for that. We just gotta see what else they can really do this turn. I don't think they can threaten us with a knockout or anything like that. I think we need or a pretty big combination of cards to make that happen. Yeah, so here we just see an attachment come down on the Shaman, and Zerosic is a little annoying, getting rid of the Fighting Fury Belt, but we can always puzzle of time for it back later if we want it. So here, okay, so we draw another Fury Belt. I think we might actually want to keep their Forest in play, because if we draw into a Spinnerack and Ariados this turn, we will be able to use that. And here I like this escape rope play because right now they're threatened to retreat into an attacker next turn, but if we play an escape rope, they will need another attachment or a switch card to get one of these other Pokemon out of the active spot. And I'm perfectly okay with him putting up Ariados. That seems fine. That's probably a big part of his deck, so I don't mind being able to attack into that for a turn or so. And this is actually pretty workable. So we finally get a Spinnerack and Sceptile to hit the board. And we can also play Shaman and maybe potentially draw into an Ariados or maybe a Mew or something else too. So let's see. Cool, so we do get the Ariados. That's really handy. We won't be able to poison our opponent this turn just because they are grass type, but at least we do have it finally on the board now. And there's not too much else I think we could really do here. I think that's fine just doing the 20. And it's actually kind of nice because this way we will actually be able to set up for an Unseen Claw knockout with Mew next turn since we have that Ultra Ball in hand, assuming he doesn't retreat out of the active spot. And yes, we finally do see a Sceptile hit the board. Kind of expected that. Okay, so Trainer's Mails for an N. I wonder if he's going to play that one. I'd be perfectly okay with that. Our hand is definitely workable, but it's not like great by any means right now. Okay, cool. And I'm actually really glad he benched this Zorua for just for the reason we won't be forced to knock out Sceptiles this game. There's now enough prizes on the board for us to get knockouts without basically dealing with any of his attackers. Since we'll be able to knock out this Ariados, 2 Shamans, and then the Zorua. That's kind of like our course of action, I think, here. So this is actually a pretty darn good hand here, I think. So we get the D-Valley, we have the Ultra Balls to use Mew. So I'd probably get rid of maybe an N and an Ultra Ball. I think that seems best to me. Because I think it's actually better to go for the AZ play here and just to reuse your Shaman. Just because they didn't really play down many cards out of their hand after they end. So I don't know if I really want to give them a fresh hand here. So that seems pretty good to me. Then we can AZ, like I said, pick up the Shaman and keep drawing cards that way instead. And plus, if we draw another Puzzle of Time, we'll be able to do a couple Q plays as well. Awesome. So we do hit the second puzzle, and we also get a level wall, which is awesome because we can grab another Mew. So if this one that we have gets knocked out next turn, we can promote another free retreater. That seems good to me. We'll bench the Mew. And I think we should probably puzzle here. That way we can get down a Fighting Fury Belt. Yeah, it seems good because if we don't do this, it'll give him the opportunity to just Unseen Claw for the knockout this next turn. So if we get the Fighting Fury Belt, that will at least make it so that he needs something like a Force of Giant Plants and another Ariados line to come down. Okay, so we'll probably just retreat in a Mew, put on the Fury Belt, and take a knockout here. And it's really important that we got that escape rope back as well, just because no doubt he's going to promote the Sceptile EX, and we don't really have a way to deal with that very effectively. We can do 60 at a time to it, or 90 if we use Dredagon's attack, but since we can't poison it, it really makes it inconvenient to deal with. So this escape rope, well, before we got end, the escape rope would have let us force them to, promote a Shaman or a Zorua. But luckily, I mean, our hand's still workable. We have a Versus Seeker, so we will be able to get an N or an AZ back, whichever we choose. Okay, it's kind of interesting to see Zoroark in this type of deck too. It's not a card I feel like that we normally see. Oh, and he plays the Mega as well. So he plays all sorts of goodies in this list. Okay, and he is able to get a knockout here, but like I said, I think getting the Fury Belt was the right play just because it forced him to have the Mega to knock us out, which is fine by me. And so this is going to be a really difficult Pokemon to deal with because like I said, we're only doing at max like 90 damage at a time to this thing. So we really, really need to hit like a Lysander or an awesome top deck like Escape Rope. That works just the same. So here we need to retreat, and that probably seems weird, but we need to promote someone else and then play Escape Rope. That way we can put Mew back into the active spot. Okay, so this is really handy because now we can take another knockout. It's just a question, who does he want to send up here? Looks like he's taking a minute to think about it. And I'm perfectly fine with the Zorua. He didn't want to give up 2 prizes with Shaman, but I'd rather knock out the Zorua just because Zoroark is an attacker that can, one-shot us, so I don't mind taking out this guy instead. So, I mean, I guess we can put down the Fury Belt. I don't know if it matters. And here, it looks like I'm thinking about maybe Shaman. Yeah, I think that's fine because Mega Sceptile knocks us out either way. And at least if we have a Fury Belt on Shaman, he won't be able to poison us with Ariados down the road and use Sceptile to get a knockout. So it kind of takes out the Shaman play for him. So cool, we do get another Mew that is really, really good, just because once this one goes down, like I said, we do want another one to promote. Okay, and we get a Grass Energy, more importantly, actually. And here, I think we can just use Revenge, that way we don't have to poison our own Mew. I don't really know if it matters either way, just because Mega Sceptile knocks us out, but that probably is the technically right play to do. Okay, so just as we suspected, Mega Sceptile hits the board. And again, these Sceptiles are going to be so difficult to deal with, but If we can just Lysander and escape rope enough times, I think we will be able to close out this game because there are enough prizes on the board for us to win. So we don't have a Lysander in hand yet, but we really need one, or an escape rope. Cool. So we do get Lysander, and if we can hit a puzzle here, we can actually grab a grass energy as well. But unfortunately, we whiff it. So probably Sycamore, I think, is the best option here. And so we should probably put down this Fury Belt before we do anything else. I think Sceptile might be the best option here, but I guess we're opting from you. Seems okay, but and no energy, so that's really unfortunate here. Okay, so I guess we'll grab the Ultra Ball, maybe just to grab another Mew for next turn, or I don't really know. Okay, so get a little bit of energy back and get some Mews back. That seems fine. Here, I think I was just debating, do I want another energy or another Mew? But I think we have enough energy to where we should be able to draw into what we need for the rest of the game. Okay, so we'll just draw into, oh, a Shaman. Oh, I guess I'm really going to be digging for that grass energy here. Okay, so let's see if we can get it. Cool. So we will be able to at least revenge, but I might opt just to retreat and wait till next turn to Lysander. So who do we promote here? That's the question. It needs to be something he can take a knockout on. That way we can promote Mew the following turn. So I think Drudagon is fine. I don't really see us needing him much for the rest of the game. Assuming we can Lysander these Shamans, we won't really need Drudagon's attack anymore. So hopefully he doesn't have a Lysander to take out our Mew. That would be really annoying. So versus Seeker, and he gets an N. So could be worse, I guess. He could have, as long as it wasn't a Lysander, I'm pretty thankful. Even though we did get rid of a decent hand that we had. Okay, so this is slightly annoying. We don't have a Dimension Valley in play anymore, and we don't have that Lysander we just got. And he is down to 3 prizes, so this is not fun. Okay, it is unfortunate we're going to have to discard this Puzzle of Time, but we really need to get a Dimension Valley and start attacking this turn, I think. So here, what do we really get rid of? Most of the cards that we have left, I think, are pretty important. We do still have Revitalizer in the deck. That could potentially be useful. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking about discarding it. I guess I was thinking I already have Ariados on the board, so I might not need it. But I'd rather opt, I think, to discard the Ariados. That way we can get it back with Lysander if we choose to. So here, I don't know what I'm thinking about doing. Because I really don't want to attack until I can get a knockout with Shaman. So, or to get a knockout on Shaman. So here we're just Sycamore. And kind of an annoying hand. But we do have a Lysander in the discard pile, I believe, so we will be able to Lysander next turn. Cool, so yes, it is in there. And here we might, unfortunately, have to sacrifice a Mew, but if we do, we will be able to get a knockout on the Shaman the next turn. So here he just takes another knockout and goes down to 2 prizes. But like I said, we will have the cards to get a response knockout on this Shaman. And if he doesn't end us out of our hand, we will be able to just Lysander his last Shaman the following turn as well. And so here, this is, I think, really important as well, because if he did Lysander and knock out our Ariados next turn, that would kind of screw us over. So get down a second Ariados just to take, that play away from him and to ensure that we're going to be able to actually, knock out these shamans. So here we'll see Lysander hit the board. And we do need to bring up the full art one that has the energies on it just because he will be able to sky return otherwise. So we're just doing everything we can just to maximize our odds of him not taking away a shaman from the board. So here we're going to see Unseen Claw, and if he doesn't have a way to get rid of this shaman, we pretty much win. So we'll have to see what our opponent has right now. So Trainer's Mail. Oh, an AZ, that could be really annoying. And he does pick up the shaman. Oh, but he does bench it right back down, so I'm perfectly okay with that. It's kind of a risky play by our opponent, but now, like I said, we do have Versus Seeker in hand. So, oh, and we top deck another Lysander too. So we had definitely everything we needed right there. And here we'll just use Poisonous Nest from Ariados, and yep, our opponent just concedes there. So even though we had to play against another grass deck like this, we still had enough ways to pull out a win. So even in unfavorable matchups like this, I think this Sceptile deck still does have a chance depending on what you're playing against. Like I said, I think we run enough different ways to deal with the bad grass matchup to where it's still winnable. Because, we play the Escape Rope, the Puzzle of Times to get back Escape Rope, Drudagon to do more damage since we can't poison people. So yeah, guys, that is the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to let me know in the comments below too what you guys think of this one. If there's any cards you would change from the list or anything like that. But yeah, that is it. Feel free to like and subscribe as usual, and don't forget to check out our merch at rarecandytcg.com. And we will see you guys for the next one, okay?